dun sa National Anti-Kidnapping Task Force. Ang mga kidnap victims kasi, they refuse to reveal or talk about their ordeal. So very few of you perhaps knew what went on and how Sir Angie made a lot of difference. It was not his stint as SILG when the NACTAF was formed. It was actually after he resigned as Secretary of National Defense. Kaya lagi ako naniniwala, what's meant to happen will always happen. He resigned as Secretary of National Defense. He was free, he had nothing to do. At sabi nga ni Ma'am Tess, nananahimik na nga kami eh. But then, it was meant to be that he would accept the position of being the head of the National Anti-Kidnapping Task Force. Allow me to tell you how that story happened. Pero bago yon, siguro i-share ko lang sa inyo na tunay na itinadhana yata na sa maraming pagkakataon, nagsasalubong ang buhay naming dalawa ni Sir Angie. March 17 ang buhay niya, ang birthday niya. March 17 din ang birthday ng panganay ko. Angelo ang pangalan niya, Angel. Ang birthday ko naman ay pinanganak ako sa araw ng Pasko. Isa ako sa secretariat ng EDSA 2. Isa kami sa nag-udyok sa kanya na sana pakinggan ang hinihingi ng sambayanan na magkaroon ng restoration ng good governance. Hindi namin pinagsisisi yun, kaya lang hindi ko rin maalis sa isip ko na mukhang isa yun sa naging mitsa ng kanyang kamatayan ngayon. Both Sir Angie and my late husband were Harvard graduates. My late husband finished anthropology from Harvard. At ngayon, we share another commonality. His wife Teresita and I am Teresita. We're now both widows who experience having a beloved husband taken away from us unexpectedly. Just 2 weeks before he passed on, late January, two of his close friends and I had merienda with Sir Angie that spilled over to dinner. Nagkukwentuhan kasi kami. We were exchanging anecdotes about our funny moments, our triumphs, our angst and anxieties, and the many things that we had to face day in and day out, many of them unexpected when we are dealing with life and death problems of kidnap for ransom incidents. Nilapitan ko si Sir Angie after he resigned as Secretary of National Defense. Kasama ko si John Cao, inaanak niya at inaanak ng mga anak ni Sir Angie, at ninong ng mga anak ni Sir Angie. Pumunta kami sa bahay linggo noon, Sunday. Very early, he said, okay, you just come for breakfast. I told him I have a very big problem, and so you come over and have breakfast. He had helped me before when an enemy threatened to have me killed and have my family liquidated. He knew who that person threatening me was and talked with him. That Sunday when I went to him, it was the same problem. The same person in a drunken bout again threatened to have me and my family harmed. So I had to run to Sir Angie. Wala naman ako ibang matatakbuhan kundi siya lamang. So sinabi ko sa kanya yung problema ko, and then he promised that he will again talk to that enemy. From that discussion, we went to talking about kidnapping. It was one of the worst times of kidnappings. It was besetting us day in and day out. Almost every other day, we had problems. So, we said, Sir Angie, wala naman kayong official positions ngayon, wala kayong responsibility. Kayo na lang ang mag-head ng anti-kidnapping campaign. We need a man of his stature to command all the government agencies that were often at odds with one another. The many agencies of the Philippine National Police were quarreling for credits, for turf. They're not putting their acts together. The ISAF, Intelligence of Armed Forces of the Philippines, had their own efforts. The NBI had their own efforts, and they were not working together. So it was not surprising that the kidnappers were having a field day. So I talked to Sir Angie with John Cao. The breakfast spilled over to lunch. Ang una niyang pinatawag, the first speaker, si Major Pandon pa at that time, si Buki de Leon. Pinatawag niya, and he called some other friends. The discussion spilled over to merienda. Tinanong niya yung mga tao niya, tatanggapin ko ba ito? I remember they told him, yes sir, dapat lang, and we will all be behind to support you. Right then and there, Sir Angie called up then President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, who was in Bali. He told her what the problems were and that I was there, and I have a request to make. And he passed on the telephone to me. In-explain ko kay Mrs. Arroyo kung ano yung mga problema, and I told her we need Sir Angie badly to put rights, to put right yung lahat ng watak-watak na efforts. We need, I said, to put our acts together, and it is only Sir Angie who can command that kind of respect from every agency. Nakikita ko kasama namin ngayon yung dating naman nakatrabaho namin. We have the National Telecommunications, the head, si Attorney Arlie Borre. Kasama naman namin yung LTO, the NBI, the ISAF, the police, the CIDG, the intelligence group. Everybody accepted his leadership as the head of the National Anti-Kidnapping Task Force. He was very focused in his job, so he became our pillar in that anti-kidnapping campaign. He pulled everyone's act together. So in 2004, saw one of the lowest number of kidnapping incidents nationwide. That time, NACTAF had a big budget. And as you know, since it's kidnapping, the auditing is not as stringent. But I will assure you, day in and day out, we know for sure that every centavo went to the operations and went to the intelligence gathering. He was conscientious, dedicated, and focused. So he restored our faith in the government's ability to combat the kidnapping menace. It was not easy at first. It was really, really difficult. His third month in NACTAF, Betty Chuasi, the Coca-Cola executive, was kidnapped and murdered. The girl was a young, outstanding graduate of the University of the Philippines. She had a lot of promise ahead of her. Sir Angie and I accompanied the C family to the morgue to identify the body. The C family is here now and can attest to that. Sir Angie promised them that he will not leave any stone unturned until her killers are held accountable for her death. Betty is the only girl in a family of 6 boys, and she's the only girl. And the parents, of course, grieve. Parents are not supposed to bury their children. But here, Betty C. was taken away because of the kidnapping menace. There was an uproar about it, from UP, from everywhere, because a very young, promising girl died. Sabi nga ni Ma'am Tess sa akin, Tessie naman, saan mo na naman pinasok kasing gulo ang aking asawa? Nananahimik na sana kami. No? She was always so protective of Sir Angie. No? She said, paano yan? How can we get through all the patikos, the complaints, the accusations against Sir Angie for not doing the job good enough? But fortunately, after that, there were 3 successive rescues. So, Ma'am Tess was mollified and his family was rest assured that it's meant to be that Sir Angie will take the cudgels for the anti-kidnapping campaign. The first case was Gian Jetro Chua, 2.5-year-old boy who was held captive, kidnapped for 28 days. Imagine the agony of a family, 2.5-year-old boy. In fact, we had given him up for dead because after the first ransom payment, he was not released. His kidnappers threatened that the boy will be sold to the Muslims unless they meet the second demand and meet the deadline. The second case was that of Alistair Joseph Ong Ling Swan, a Chinese Filipino but with American citizenship. The third was Willie Chua, a Chinese national. Sir Angie showed his mettle in the Ong Ling Swan case. Dahil Amerikano, as you know, the FBI came in. But Sir Angie put his foot down and told them off. No, we do not do things that way. In the Philippines, the victim's life is the paramount concern. What you are suggesting will get the victim killed. Tapos, nung rescue na, when NACTA found na there is a very, very good chance for rescue, we discussed it with the parents. Sir Angie discussed it with us sa MRPO, yung Movement for Restoration of Peace and Order. Is it a go? You know, because it's American citizen. Because if the rescue failed, it will be the end of Sir Angie and NACTAF. Kasi Amerikano yan eh. The FBI